Hello.
How you doing?
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Rocky Rickson from the Conflict Public Defenders.
And go ahead and tell us the dilemma.
Sure. So I don't know if maybe I caused confusion last week on 2 points. One, I had asked for approval if we could have 2 users per office, so me and my assistant. And I was going to try, and did try, to just get by with just 1 user for the, we're talking about the practice management software. And we started doing that, but what we found is you can only have 1 login at a time. So my assistant would be in it, and I'd log into it, and it kicked her out. So we're going to have 2 users. So that was 1 point of clarification. I think there was a question, the way I had understood it, that maybe it had only been approved for just 1 user per conflict office. And then the other thing is, I think I misunderstood when I told you. Because I think I asked for, was it $49 a month?
Yeah.
And it's actually $59, even when you paid annually for that fee. So I was off by the $10. So that's what happened. Sorry.
No, I have no issue with that, making that change.
Yeah, we have the funds.
Okay.
We'll still do the same way. We'll pay out of.
So will you need a total of 4 licenses then, or 2 for now, and then maybe 2 more when the other guy gets here?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chair, I would authorize up to 4 licenses at the price of $59 a month for each one, so we'll pay it annually to get that discount.
Right.
There's a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Scott.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
How are you guys?
Good.
Well, I know Les is here, so. Les, do you want to come up? Just go right there.
I'll sit over a little bit.
Actually, I almost had a promise there.
I just want to remind you, this is not a public hearing.
Yeah, these are just our folks that are here for.
Okay.
All right. So the first item for discussion will be, we put together a 3-year contract with the Southeast Idaho Youth Football League, and they've been using a complex for several years now. Les is, I don't know, I'm not sure what your title is. League president. League president. Would you guys introduce yourselves? I forgot.
Les is Southeast Idaho Youth League president.
Dwayne Rawlings, I'm on the board of directors for the Southeast Idaho League.
Greg Barry, on the board of directors from Portland Medical Center of Sports Medicine.
Okay. And that's what I said, this isn't a public hearing, so.
And just a contract negotiation, contract discussion. So we have worked with Les to put together a plan for a 3-year contract to allow them to use our facilities. As part of that contract, we will take ownership of the shed that is on our property, and then it'll be our discretion as far as where we move that or where we put it, where we move it. We'll just work with these guys to make sure that when we do any of that stuff that we don't damage any of the property that's inside the shed. And then they would have access to that shed for the duration of the contract. And then right of first refusal moving forward. So that if, as we negotiate contracts, they would be able to have the first right to use the shed for the years moving forward. Kind of standard with the contracts that I presented to you guys. I throw in about a 3% increase from the previous year's contract cost. With this one, we threw in a 5% increase because of the shed rental, and so we just threw it in there. And then the amount of the shed that they had paid was $8,000, and we would just give them credit towards their contract. Their total contract cost was $8,000.
Okay. The $8,000, when did you buy the shed?
2000, it's been 6 years, so what is?
So it's 6 years old.
5 or 6 years old.
And so, and we're paying full price.
Yeah, I think if we were to replace that shed, it would cost us a lot more money to do so. And so that's why I went with just the cost that they paid. It's just building materials have gone up.
So I got a recent quote on the exact same shape and the same manufacturer, and it was almost 15,000 today.
Okay. And 3,000 is what they paid last year?
Yes.
So we're using the championship field, the multi-use fields, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, pavilion number 2, and Bannock County restrooms.
Yeah. So the pavilion number 2 is typically on the, I think they use the pavilion on the photo day. Just the one day they do photo.
Okay. Normal rental for those facilities for this amount of time, what is that?
I know, but do we do?
That's just the pavilion.
Did we do the total contract? The total contract amount with full fees? What was that, do you remember?
For last year's, every time.
No, just if we were to do full fees on the total contract, and I remember we did it last year, and I want to say that it was, I can't remember off the top of my head, I'd just be throwing out a bad guess, so.
But that's part of my discussion here is we're paying full fee for the shed, and they're not paying full fee for the facilities.
True.
Okay. Then on food trucks and vendors, where they have the right to have 3 food trucks, but then Bannock County will be responsible for coordination of all aspects of potential food truck vendors.
So that's just the electrical inspection. So we're not responsible for the just like every other vending truck comes up on our premises, they have to work through us to get certified, and we essentially allow them access to work up there. But we're not responsible for, we're just responsible for saying whether they can operate it or not. And then that's the expense to the food truck vendor, not to the league.
The way that read, it gives them the authority or the ability to have trucks, but we have the ultimate responsibility, is the way I read it in this.
Yeah, and I think that's probably, we have the ultimate responsibility for the food truck to operate up there, and then they would have the responsibility, they would be able to kind of pick the food trucks, they would just have to follow our rules.
Okay, I'm going to have Brian read through that to make sure.
So we haven't used food trucks in the past. The last few years, we've actually been trained to, do you have your concession stand?
We ran our concessions last year.
It was a little marginal last year, quite frankly. I think it's a little, because it's a little bit out of the way. So actually, that's why I talked to Scott about, actually, I'd like to see whether maybe 1 or 2 food vendors that you guys already got approved. Because I've been approached, and I told them, that has to come through the county. So if you've got 1 or 2 that's, who's ever approved, I'd rather pick from that list if it makes sense.
Just the way that read.
That's fine. And if we need to adjust.
It looked like there was 2 different
We're fine with that, too.
things there. And then in sponsorships, how long or what will they put up, and how long will it be up? Will it be up during the whole season, all the time?
No,
We've had problems with the concerts.
It's the sponsorship stuff's taken up, or put up and taken down.
So each week it'll go up and go down?
Yeah, we're just gonna put up kind of a banner across the back of the goalpost. So, Advantage Plus Credit Union is gonna be sponsoring one of the fields. So we'll put it across the back of the goalpost during that day, and then take it down. I definitely don't wanna leave them up, there'll be somebody else.
And then the last one I highlighted here was insurance. There's $1 million worth of insurance. Is that coverage for stuff inside the shed? Who's liable for the stuff inside the shed?
I carry our own insurance for everything inside the shed.
We may need to just, that's something that we probably need to work out. I think that's, I don't know that his event insurance would cover it, to be honest with you. It would fall under our insurance. Because once it becomes our facility, it would fall under our insurance.
So that's another question for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just say, if we're gonna rent it to them during that period, then maybe we can have some legal ease that defers that back to you. Yeah, renters, yeah.
And we do that, like when we have ISU Rodeo, when they rent the horse stalls, or even Pocatello Downs, when they rent horse stalls, they rent some of our facilities, their office. We have several entities that do rent county property long-term. It probably would just need to be something that we would throw in some language we probably just need to clarify in the contract. Because I think that ultimately there will be some liability on our part, even though there's a contract that talks about the event. not the contents of the shed. So, we probably just need to work that out, but it's probably something we need to amend in a couple of our contracts.
And I'll just tell you, I'm not willing to do a 3-year contract. Last year, we had a conversation about the shed, and Mr. Hernandez came in my office and threatened me, and you think I'm going to sign a contract right now without getting all these answers? I'm not going to do it right now.
Okay.
Comments?
I'm okay with the contract, and you know I'm not a huge fan of 3 years, but working it off for the exchange for the shed, I'm comfortable with that, so I'm willing to wait. I'm comfortable where we're at, pending the legal review and changing the term, the verbiage, so that you have renter's insurance on the stuff inside.
Yeah, and we carry that insurance, and right now, actually, the shed's insured, I have the shed insured too, so.
Right, but when we take ownership of it, I want to make sure we have renter's insurance on the contents of the shed, so.
So just so I know what questions or what answers to bring next time. So you're not in favor of the 3-year contract, so we can go with the 1-year contract. Would you prefer that we buy the shed outright so that we pay Mr. Hernandez the remaining cost for the shed rental? That was one of the reasons I went with 3-year, was because it just took that cost and spread it over 3 years. But if you would prefer 1 year, you want us to pay the remaining balance?
That's a conversation we can have.
Okay. And then the insurance on the shed was another question, and what was the
facilities, what's the actual cost?
actual cost?
And the food vendors.
And then the legal, I'll talk about the food trucks.
The food truck, yeah.
Who's responsible for what there?
Because that does seem kind of ambiguous there, that even though you guys are bringing them in, we're responsible for everything, so that part, just clarify that.
Well, and like I said, I think maybe we just need to write it a little bit more clearly, but ultimately, we are responsible for the trucks that operate on our property, and that's why we hold the electrical inspection and verify the health.
Well, that was my point. If we're just kind of in charge of the electrical inspection, not everything else, then let's specify just that.
So you must have something with soccer, because they have food trucks there during their tournaments all the time, so whatever that language is, should already be there somewhere.
We can double check and make sure if the language has changed, then we'll just modify it.
Okay.
Anything else, Commissioner?
Not this time.
Commissioner Howell?
So, no, I had thrown out in the conversation, I personally had said that I would donate some trees to put around that shed. You didn't indicate whether you wanted them or not. So was that a yes or a no? Because my only issue was, as long as we can get water to them, I personally had already talked to the greenhouse.
The location of the shed I do not like.
No, not where it's at now, but when we get it set.
And that'll be something that we'll talk about.
Okay. And like I said, I put that on the table, and I'm still, personally, I indicated that I was willing to donate some trees.
Okay. I'll schedule another date, and then we'll get back.
How's your numbers this year, Les?
Actually better than last year, so it's good, so they're up.
Are you back to like pre-pandemic levels, or?
We're gonna get, well, it'll be another year. It's getting closer, but we're adding more games from mini Cassia, so that league, so they're actually thinking about actually joining us next year, so that would be huge if we can get that also. So bringing all those people here in the Bannock County would be a big plus.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And those fields are being requested by other groups. Lacrosse has become a big item in our area. Soccer's become even bigger, so.
Well, we put 45,000 people on those fields during the season, so we get a big number of people that we are involved with.
Well, I'm just saying that we have to look at each group.
Sure.
All right.
Good.
Next.
Mike? Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Mike Callie, I'm the race director with Pocatello Marathon, which is part of the Pocatello Sports Committee, nonprofit organization.
And just a disclosure, I've been a member of the Pocatello Sports Committee and had a fringe group of the Pocatello Sports Committee, so I have great familiarity with the marathon and the sports committee.
And this is just for the rental of barricades.
We don't rent the barricades out, so there's no fee for it. I typically don't let those go. This is something that has been done for a few years, and so last year I commented it, but I wanted to make sure we brought it before you guys this year. This is not associated with our facility at all, so it's just something to help the community. So.
Yeah, I didn't have any concerns on this one.
Yeah, what's your registration numbers looking like?
We're looking good, you know. Race directors around the country are showing a 20 to 30% decrease.
Yeah.
We're actually at or above our numbers for last year and approaching where we were pre-pandemic, which over 700 registrations right now.
Fantastic.
So yeah, we're very pleased.
Fantastic. Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve the waiver of fees and rental of the jersey barriers to the Pocatello Sports Committee.
Have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Mike.
That's all for me. Thanks, guys.
We have one question for you, Scott. Earlier we was talking about claims and stuff. How come we pay the sheriff's office for the security up there instead of go out local?
So that is,
Because our check's clear?
so there are some fees that we take on during the concerts because it's easier and faster, more consistent easier for us to pay that stuff, and then to just figure it out with Raw Local and kind of settle up, I guess, at the end. So some of those things like the sheriff's office, like the concessions food, they're supposed to pay as we go. But I'm the one that I think there's a lot more to that discussion. But I feel like it is it's a relationship between us and the sheriff's office. And if the sheriff's office is going out on a limb to put some people out there, I want to make sure they get paid in a timely manner. I don't want them to have to wait. And so that's the reason I choose to pay them instead of having go out local. I'll work it out with go out local at the end.
Okay. And that was just, as I was going through the claims this morning.
Yeah, and it'll be a big one next month because we have this concert, and honestly, like, I'm the one that sets the numbers for the sheriff's office, and that's not something that I did talk to Go Out Local when we first started doing the concerts, and I kind of explained our, at least the agreement I had with the sheriff's office for the security, the services they provide. But when I look at the concerts, I'm the one that determines the numbers. I'm the one that sets those numbers.
Okay.
So
Just, actually, it's their concert. It's not ours. And why are we paying all the subcontractors? So
I agree.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
All right. Looks like Shanda.
Good morning, Commissioner. Shanda Crystal, Purchasing and Economic Analyst. I have 3 items before the board today and would like to start with the Safety and Assessment Center and ask Todd and Dan to join me.
Okay.
So this has been an exciting project from the get-go, and with the tight timelines, Bannock County employees have just been phenomenally responsive to the need to put this project first and get it done and get it moving. So we're super excited about that. I am thrilled too that we had 2 well-known contractors put in on this. That was also a great win for Bannock County to be able to, like, either direction we end up going, both of these firms are fantastically capable and are well-known in our area to do these types of construction and more. So we're thrilled that we have vendors that we are building relationships with, right, that are interested in our projects and, again, willing to move at the pace we need them to move. Both of these contractors committed to attempting. There are things that can go sideways. Everybody is aware of that. But both of them are committed to throwing everything that they've got at this project and to get it done and complete by May of next year. So we were, again, thrilled with their response, that even knowing some of the hurdles that might be thrown at them in this, during this project, that they're willing to work with Bannock County, we're willing to work with them and get this moving forward. As the team then had about 48 hours to review and look at things once we opened them on Tuesday, and the new system. The three reviewers we had, Hal Jensen was my third reviewer, and as they got in there, right, to be able to know and understand what Bonfire looks like, I'm interested to check and see what things we can do better. Todd has some suggestions on things we can adjust, so I'm excited to move that project forward as well too. In review, as the scores came out with these two companies that had applied, Headwaters Construction and Big D Construction were the two vendors that they were scoring. There was such a tiny difference, less than 7-point difference between the two. And this is a contract we're doing based on qualifications, so the next point is to work towards a contract with a company. We would like to ask for approval to move forward with a contract with Headwaters Construction Company. If we're able to get that, it would come before the board next week. Again, with the tight time frame, we're moving really quickly on this. And then if we're able to come to an agreement, then that is when we would officially award that contract and that bid at that time. Again, for qualifications, if for whatever reason us and the Headwaters Construction are unable to come to agreement, we would move on to the next one as well.
And was they the lower one then out of the two?
So no dollar amounts are attached to this.
I mean, out of the scoring, you just talked about 7-point difference or?
Higher. They scored higher. They scored 7 points higher than.
Higher was positive then?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes.
And you were on that, and you were on that?
Yes.
Okay. And what were your thoughts as you reviewed them?
Both were excellent. You couldn't go wrong with either company. The Bonfire, I liked using that better than just the paper, going through papers.
Did it have a scoring system in it? Bonfire?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, it's just, for me, it was quicker, easier, and like I say, you couldn't go wrong with either company, and so
Okay.
it's been a positive process so far.
Yeah, I feel the same. Like either company, they were right there.
Okay. Then I'm okay if we move forward with Headwaters then. And this is just a approval to move forward to enter into negotiations,
Contract
correct?
negotiations, correct. Mhm. Yep.
Okay.
And we anticipate, right, if we are successful in that, a contract will come back before the board for review and approval next week.
Let's go ahead and make that in a motion, so.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we authorize the team to move forward with negotiation to Headwaters Construction. Okay. As presented.
We have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Another step, Todd.
We're getting there.
I know. One step at a time. I like it.
Sleep a little better at night.
Good.
Dan, I'm sorry, do you want to stay for the second one, just in case I've got? The second item I have before the board is a draft of the concealed weapons detection request for information. So Dan and I met with the sheriff, the chief, I'm sorry, what is Alex's title?
Hamilton.
Yeah.
Chief Deputy. Chief Deputy.
Okay. And Captain Ballard as well, to discuss their scope of work and some of the needs that they had on this. This is the first time Bannock County is putting out a request for information, so it's a new territory for everybody, and it seemed to go really well. They had great input as far as the needs and some of the things that we were not willing to release at this time, but as we go out to bid, we would release additional information. But giving them a good grasp over what we're looking at doing, some of the limitations that we're asking for, and even potential some of the growth. They are looking at potentially adding movable security systems, and so we wanted just to know. And that's what requests for information RFIs do, right? We are looking into the future. We're seeing what's out there, what vendors, subject matter experts have to offer Bannock County, and then that's how we build our requests and our direction of where we want to head in the future. So this is a brand new thing for Bannock County, but as we put it together, we also had Adam McKinney look it over. And there's not a whole ton that he can do at this point, but he was comfortable at least with what we were requesting information on. He'll have way more to do when we actually look at the potential systems that are requested, or as we say, if it's possible, right? We can do this thing, that thing. Dan was wonderful in, as we're building towards becoming more and more ADA compliant, making those adjustments, getting the drawings out so people knew what kind of space they had to work within at this point in time. The request is that we post this. We would do it like we have the other ones on Bonfire. We have a couple companies that we would ask to participate individually, and then just see what information we get back and see how this project moves forward.
I just have a quick differentiation question. What's the difference between an RFI and an RFQ?
Okay, so the request for information, the RFI, is we choose that when we don't quite know what is out there, what is offerable out there in the system. We are not replacing a like for like. We're not. We don't have a truck and we're replacing it with the exact same truck. We want to see subject matter experts as far as the new technology that's out there, potentially face recognition, software, the speed at which they can detect and differentiate between a pen or a weapon. So we're asking the people that have the information, the knowledge base on what the current trends are, things that are capable of, and what could work with Bannock County. On an RFQ, when we're asking for qualifications, that is something when we're ready to bid out a project, we know what we want, and we are seeking qualified companies that can produce what we want it to be. This is a fact-finding search that we just want to see. We want to see what's out there. We are asking for dollar amounts attached to this because we want to see, right? We might want that beautiful fancy thing, but if it's going to be millions of dollars, right? Well, maybe we settle for the next best thing. Qualifications can also be awarded. RFIs cannot. We cannot award off this. We would have to go out to bid for either any other type of bid to actually award a contract from.
So once we get an RFI back, that gives us a scope of what we want and a general price range. Then we'd go back out for bid because now we know what we want. Okay.
Yeah, and we could piecemeal too. If this company has A and B and this company has C and this company has D and we want A, B, C, and D, well then that's how we build our solicitation. We build it to exactly the specs that we want, and then again we put that out for bid and see what those come back at.
Great.
So.
My only deal with this is, when we talked about this during budget, I said that we wanted the commissioners involved. Mm-hmm. And none of the commissioners have been involved. I mean, they've had their meetings, you've had meetings with that group that you said and stuff, but this is something fiscal going on within the courthouse. The people that have the say on it, it's good to have everybody else's input, but it's good to have the commissioner's input also. So that's what I would request, is that as any projects within the county that is something fiscal with buildings or anything else, the commissioners need to be involved, because maybe we went out there and looked at the parking spots altogether and made a decision. And I don't feel like we've been involved in making decisions in any part of this.
Correct.
At this point.
Correct.
So my intent, and maybe I was not clear as I move this forward, this is still fact-finding to me. This is still building that scope of work before we bring a proposal and have that discuson.
But it's going to be a physical change to this building.
Correct.
And so we should be on the ground floor about talking about it. Because maybe we want to close one entrance and maybe we want to do something else. Or maybe we have different plans of purchasing a different building or different things. So that's why I say that we need to be involved from the ground floor on anything physically that happens with any bids, anything going on with the building.
Okay. We can push pause on this for sure and have that conversation to know. Because you're right, that would change. That would change the needs for this building if we were putting, different people, if we were adjusting the entrances, right? All of those things would adjust what we're asking for here.
Well, there's been conversations of moving all courts up, second floor up, so do you need all this stuff on the ground floor? You know, they're just conversations that we haven't been involved with, and that's my idea.
So I don't know if we necessarily need to put it on pause, but I would nominate Commissioner Moser to be involved in those discussions going forward.
And I think that we should be.
I don't disagree with that.
We could run them concurrently if we wanted to do that, put this out for RFI, and then in the meantime, while we're waiting for responses, have more meetings to understand really what that's going to look like to move forward, or?
Well, we've been trying for a month and a half to walk around with Kerry to look at courtrooms, you know? So, anyway, let's move forward with this. Let's go ahead and put it out, because we're not committed to anything, but there's ideas and understanding.
Oh, Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the RFI as presented and authorize posting.
We have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
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 Wonderful. And then as far as additional discussions, do you want to, I hadn't been involved in that walk around, but I can't, do you want that to be that first piece of that?
Well, no, I'm just saying that we got to get a system down here where we're consistent. And the commissioners need to be involved with anything physical going on in the facilities. I mean, if it's software, different things, I'm not, I mean, you go to Adam and stuff, but if it's something physical on this, if Dan's involved, we ought to be there to say yes or no for Dan. I mean, he says it, but we've got to support him too. That's the way I feel.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. So we'll move forward and gather information and then have another discussion about how to move forward. Okay. Perfect. Okay, will do.
Thank you.
The last item I have is a procurement update for the board. In regards to the maintenance cleaning service contract for fiscal year 23, the questions were due on Monday. We didn't receive any outside responses. However, we do feel there's an item that we do need to clarify. So we're going to submit a question. Bannock County is going to submit a question, and Dan has that for review. As soon as he's got that, it'll go to legal and be posted on Friday. In regards to the telephone support maintenance, same pattern. Their questions were due on Monday. We did receive outside questions, and those are to legal for review, again with that deadline of being reposted on Friday. And a wonderful announcement for the grant management for the fuels reduction. A couple weeks ago, I came before the board and was sad to announce that we didn't receive any bids. However, that did open us that we could go in any direction. We had talked to the board about potentially doing a two-prong approach, about looking for to build an employment position description, as well as looking at contracting. CCOG they reached out to an individual who has the qualifications to do this, which is phenomenal. They met with him, interviewed, and are excited to move forward. Wes should have a contract here before the board in a couple weeks to get him under contract and to get moving forward on this project. So we are excited to find him and get him going.
So, question, let's say we get this individual approved and on board September 1, how long before we can get the RFP out for the actual fuel reduction work?
So Charity is already working on the bones of that, and that has been, the bones have been submitted to legal for review. But as far as the scope of work and things like that, that's going to need to be boots on the ground. He's going to need permission to get onto people's property. That's going to be the next step after we contract. And again, to get those to legal for review, and then once they have property owners sign them, that will give us legal authority to go on their property to look and see how many trees, where they're located, you know, what kind of equipment we can get back there, have those discussions, and that's going to build that scope of work for us.
So maybe another 30 days after that?
30 to 60, somewhere in there, right, would be my guess. But yeah, so we're already starting.
I'm just excited to see some movement on this.
Right. And as far as we understand, like from the city of Pocatello, this winter is the perfect time to do a lot of this work. So it's wonderful.
Get out of the dry season. Get the fire markers off the red. Get the hunters out of the trees.
There we go.
Fantastic.
So,
That's good news. Thank you.
We are excited to get that one moving forward. And that, unless you have any other questions, that completes my update.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.